Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, a great show for you today. And when I say a great show for you today, this is going to be a prescient show for you. I mean, it's going to be sort of exploring some of the things that happened today, some of the things that happened throughout the week, some of the things that happened yesterday. We're going to talk about this great things that people are fair in democratic socialism and some more. But you know what? We're going to do it in the context of Fox News making a fool out of themselves. Fox News really made a fool out of themselves. And without understanding it, what they really did is they helped the movement. They helped the movement more than anything else that I can think of. I think they actually helped the movement better so than Bernie Sanders did. So what I want you guys to do is sit back. First of all, if you're just joining the show, please do remember I have an ask for you. And that ask is for you to share on your page, share on your wall, share everywhere, because as usual, Facebook messes with the algorithm. And those of us that are really pushing progressive knowledge, progressive data, reality-based things that affect most middle class, poor, and others, these things are getting, and I hate to use the word because, people usually say, where do you have proof? Where do you have proof? Folks, look, if at one time, when you start your show, you got hundreds that got on immediately, and then thousands, and then after all these issues come about, suddenly you notice that the only way that you really get the performance that you used to get is if people force feed your show elsewhere. That tells you something. That tells you some sort of a monitoring is occurring. That tells you that they are trying to prevent you from getting the news. And this isn't conspiracy. All of you who know me know I don't believe in the conspiracy crap. I do not believe in the conspiracy theory things. But right now in America, everybody knows in the plutocracy, knows we are at a flex point. We are at an impasse. Our society is sitting on a knife's edge. And why are we sitting on a knife's edge? We're sitting on a knife's edge because the plutocracy has extracted so much from the average American citizen, so much from the poor, so much from the middle class. There's a show that I heard today by Richard Wolff on KPFT 90.1 FM that I want to also tell you a little bit about the story and how he subdivides how the country works. And it's fascinating what he's going to say now. That I want to get to you. But beforehand, it's so important for you, if you're just joining us, to go ahead and share this right now. Share this program. Let others know that there is a progressive source out there that's giving you real data. Let them know that you are a subscriber to a good piece of, what should I say? That you are a subscriber to a program that's not going to snow you, that's not going to just lie to you for the sake of lying to you, but that's going to give you exactly what's happening. And here's the other thing, folks, that we kind of have to understand, right? And it goes as follows. And this is important. When you're out there listening to the news, you are getting something that is massaged by those people who run the news. Those people who run the news are dependent on advertising from all these other sources. So if there's a story that comes out and says Alark destroys bees or some chemical destroys bees, and that company is likely to advertise on your particular network, do you think you're going to hear the truth about that? Or do you think they're going, even if you hear some of the truth about it, do you think they're going to make a big deal of it or give you an expose on it? Absolutely not. And that is what's happening in our media today. And that is why we're in the state that we're in. I mean, it's amazing. Something happened. And before I get into the program, I want to tell you this because this is rather important, but not only important, but this is downright scary. Let me tell you what happened. I was listening to Jake Tapper, and Jake Tapper has this thing now where he does fact checking. They're going to fact check Medicare for all. They're going to fact check single payer Medicare for all. And I said, oh my God, this is Jake Tapper that's going to be doing this. And Jake has been very good in really hitting Donald Trump. Jake has been doing a good job. I've written so many blog posts about Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper's on CNN right now. I'm looking at the big screen right now and watching Jake Tapper doing his thing. He's going to interview these people and he's going to do a good job. Then I went ahead and listened to a blog post that Jake Tapper put on CNN.com. And the CNN.com was to refute single payer. And here is the deal. He goes out and he says, single payer system is more expensive than the system we currently have. He didn't quite say it in those words, but that's what he meant. Single payer is more expensive. And I'm sitting down there and saying, oh my God, please tell me that he's just relaying something else and that he's not actually telling the story as far as what's happening with single payer Medicare for all. And by gosh, that's what he did. What he did is he immediately attacked Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And what did he do that for? Because he wanted to show that things are not the way they say. In as much as it was a report that was pretty much sponsored, not quite, you know how money is fungible, but pretty much sponsored by the Koch brothers. When you do the calculations of the report didn't let you see that, but when you do the calculations of the report shows that if with single payer Medicare for all, with all people insured, no fees when you go to the doctor, when you go, you get dental coverage, eye coverage, the entire thing, that turned out over 10 years to be, I think, $2 trillion less than it would in the current system that we have. So what did he cherry pick? He cherry picked government portion of the payments as because the government in the current system that we have right now, government portions would not cover much as the totality of healthcare. What this study shows is that the totality of healthcare, when everybody is covered, costs less than the measly, lousy coverage that we have today. But coming from the government coffers is more. More money comes out of the government coffers to pay that bill than if we do it the old way, which means some money comes out of the government coffers and some money you pay in premiums to insurance companies. So either way, it is your money that is paying for health care. It is your money. So the scare tactics that they use is that, well, the taxes are going to have to go up. Well, let me ask you something. If you're paying right now $10,000 a year for, let's say your monthly bill for health insurance is $500 a month. It's a lot more than that for most people that I know. But let's say it's $500 a month. And let's say that turns out to be about $6,000 a month. Okay? So if the government says, okay, and by the way, with that amount, you still have to meet a copay. You still have to meet deductible. Usually like a $5,000 deductible and copays of a whole lot of money. Okay? $15 here, $50 here, $75 here, $100 here. For labs, you have to pay all of that. Single payer, Medicare for all of that's covered, right? And it still comes out that the totality of your health care with everybody in the country covered is less. That's a fact. But somehow Tapper is able to spin it the way the plutocracy wants it spun. And what does he say? He says, oh, it costs the government more. I mean, he's not lying. It costs the government more. But if it didn't cost the government more, it would cost you a lot more. So instead of you paying that $6,000 to insurance companies who are going to then take that $6,000 and pay shareholders and pay for advertising and pay executive bills, executive salaries that cost millions of dollars for each executive, they're saying, forget them. They're not doing anything for your health care. Nothing. They do nothing. Insurance companies do nothing for you. Do not let anybody fool you. Insurance companies are simply created to manage risk, and the risk they manage is their own. They manage the risk that says we are going to pay out less money than we take in from you. That's the sole purpose of insurance companies, to take in more money from you than they're going to pay to keep you healthy. So therefore, their goal in life is to prevent you from getting too many services. So their business model depends on you not getting services. The business model of healthcare for all, Medicare for all, single payer Medicare for all, is to cover sick people. And we take out all the thievery that's there in this insurance market. And then we also take out the thievery out of the, medicine. Because guess what? A lot of people don't realize. Most of those drugs that supposedly are new on the market are either recycled drugs or drugs that guess who paid for? Your tax dollar went to the universities who discovered those drugs or developed those drugs, and when it was time to go to market, sold it off to a company, a capitalist company, who then markets it after semi-testing of something that they have working, and then they zoom up the prices. And did they pay the government a stipend or a part of the profit back into the system so that then we could pay it out on healthcare to everybody, given that we, the people, are the ones who invented these drugs, are the ones who paid for the research of these drugs? Hell no. They keep it all for the shareholders and the executives. And then they want to call us, the people who are saying we want more, begging for something that we didn't deserve or that's not ours. Folks, we have got to we have got to educate ourselves, and we cannot listen to these newscasts that are there to lie to you. I was so disappointed in Tapper. Jake Tapper was straight shooting with Donald Trump. And as soon as single payer starts to get traction, as soon as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez starts to make sense, start to show people, look, folks, if every other rich country can do it, we are America. How comes we can't? How comes we can't? My dear brothers and sisters, we have to get smart. If you're just getting to the show, folks, please go ahead and share this program on your wall. Please go ahead and share this program on your page. Please go ahead and tweet this program. Please go ahead and make sure this program goes out, because I'm telling you, people, I'm telling you, the reason we continuously make bad decisions, and a lot of you that are on my show don't, because you understand these things very well. But it's not good enough to speak to the choir. It's not good enough to preach to the choir. It's not good enough to talk to you guys who know this stuff. I need you guys to share these things with the folks that you know don't know. The folks that aren't going to listen to you but just may listen to somebody else. The folks that want so badly to listen in the quiet of themselves without you having to be down their throat. Share this stuff, my friends. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Tumblr. Share it on your wall. Share it on your page. Share it everywhere, because we have to be the ones who are going to educate ourselves. We are the ones who have to go out there and do it. We have to do it. Because you know what? Most people don't know this. For those of you, most of you listening to the show, most of you that are regulars here, know one thing. You know a lot of this material. But that's not good enough. To win, we can't win 50+1. To get the changes that we need to get effected, we need a whole lot more than 50+1. So I'm imploring you, I'm begging you guys, share. And now there's one other thing, and it's time for me to do this real quick thing before I go into I want to show you guys a video. This is going to be important to show you. If you notice the title of the show, I'm going to go into that in a little bit. But before I do that, I want to ask you guys one thing specific. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is how you can become a subscriber to this program. That is how you can ensure that we're not only talking about making a change. We're not only saying, oh, we hope things change. We invest in making sure things change. And we just ask for pennies to be a subscriber. So go ahead and go to patreon.com, patreon.com, and support progressive media, independent progressive media, not dependent on the corporatocracy, not dependent on not dependent on these different chemical companies and drug companies and medical companies and all of these that depend on screwing you to make a profit, just like insurance companies depend on screwing you to make a profit. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and if you can't help by being a subscriber, pass that link to others who can help. If we are going to make that change, we have to make the change ourselves. Richard Wolf, or not Richard Wolf, but Leonardo Buff, another independent blogger from Brazil that I sometimes reblog his stuff because he sends it all the time to get it blogged and to get some exposure. That's exactly what he says in a piece that he just wrote, and I want to I just want to give you the title of the piece, because one of the reasons that I went ahead and but I went ahead and printed this piece is just from the title alone, because he's Brazilian, so he wrote the piece in Portuguese, and his assistant translated it from Portuguese to English, and the title that he gave that was so prescient. I really want to get to it, because what it shows is something that President Obama used to say. President Obama used to have this phrase, and a lot of people used to laugh at it, right? So what is he saying? "You are who we have been waiting for," was his title. And this particular Leonardo Buff, what he said, the way he said it was, let's see if I can get to it or I can't get to it. That is, I think I blogged that under bloggers, independent bloggers, but I can't find it right now. But in effect, what his title was is, "You are going to be," and hear this well, "you are going to be the protagonist." Here's the guest bloggers here. Yeah, here it is. Here's what he called it. He said, "And organized people are the protagonists of a new society." And organized people are the protagonists of a new society. And that is a very important, that title alone was impressive. And the reason why is most of the times we have been taught, and this isn't your fault, we have been taught to be given directions to do. If you notice what we do here in Politics Done Right, is we try to empower you to give directions. We try to empower you to take the ball and run. We are just a place. We are just an inspirer. We are a program that actually tells what's going on and asks that you go out there and be that change. And we are a part of that change. I go out there in the field. In fact, I'm going to Michigan on Thursday, where we'll be having our board meeting for the Coffee Party USA, and where we're going to be also determining what other things can we start doing to mitigate what's going on here in America, and how to be a positive influence in what's going on. We are going to be spending 3 days locked in a house, coming up with new ideas for 2018, 2019. So my thing is this. What is our goal here? Our goal is to inspire folks to go ahead and get change done, but you have to do it. And the way you do it is participating. The way you do it is also investing in those who have put themselves out to do it. So please go to patreon.com/politics done right. Now, before I go, I want you to listen to this, because Fox News, I think a lot of people were pissed at Fox News. They said, how could Trish Regan come on Fox News and lie the way she did about Denmark? To which I said, thank you for lying about Denmark, because what you did is you released an important backlash. I want you to listen to this, and then I'll come back on the other side.
It's a really horrible scene. No food, no health care, no jobs, lots of violence, lots of looting, lots of corruption. This is what socialism looks like in Venezuela. And you know what? It's getting worse. Increasingly worse. If you thought it was bad under Chavez, this is what it is under Maduro. And as I said, getting worse. Experts are now predicting inflation in Venezuela is expected to hit 1,000,000%. I mean, can you even imagine what that looks like? It's hard to even fathom 1,000,000%. I mean, think about anything that you try and buy within minutes is going to cost you more, because it's so out of control. Venezuelans are losing on average 24 pounds a year from starvation. And almost 90% of the country is now living in poverty. But you know what? Democrats say we're not talking about Venezuela when they talk about socialism. They say, how can you possibly talk about Venezuela? We're talking about Denmark. But you know what? As Shakespeare said, there's something rotten in Denmark. Denmark too, folks, because Denmark's freebies, well, they're anything but free. Let's talk about this, because we're talking about a tax rate, a federal tax rate of 56%. In other words, everyone in Denmark is working for the government. And this doesn't even include the 25% value-added tax, that, Everything else there costs 25% more. Or gosh, I mean, take a look at cars. They have a 180% tax on cars. You pay more in taxes than you do on the actual car. And no one wants to work. This is a real problem because they're heavily in debt. But as of 2013, only 3 of the country's 98 municipalities actually had more than half the population working. And I haven't even gotten to school. School's free. University's free. That's lovely. And they have a program there. It's supposed to take you 5 years. But you see, not only is school free, they actually pay you basically $990 a month to go to school. Not bad, eh? Well, you know what happens then? Nobody graduates from school. They just stay in school longer and longer and longer. I mean, what's supposed to take you 5 years is taking everyone 6+ years. Because that's the reality of socialism. As one person who studied Denmark said, nowadays, all the kids graduating from school in Denmark, they want to start cupcake cafes. Nothing wrong with cupcakes. I think Magnolia here in New York is pretty successful. But in other words, nobody's incentivized to do anything because they're not going to be rewarded. Denmark, like Venezuela, has stripped people of their opportunities. Is that the direction that we want to go in? Bernie Sanders likes it. This woman from Queens likes it. And a lot of young Democrats are now looking at these two.
Now, I love what I saw there for one specific reason. And let me tell you why. As it turns out, that was a big favor. All the lies that she told on that piece that she did there were important lies because those were the questions. Anytime you hear anybody talk about a democratic socialism, and I don't even particularly like us using democratic socialism just because the word has been tainted. So I would love us to create a new word in the short term and eventually get back to that. But in the short term, it can be a distraction. But what she is talking about there were all lies, right? They were all lies. The thing about it is by lying so hard on a country and by disparaging a country who wants to ensure that the rest of the world never thinks of them as a basket case or somehow related to Venezuela. And there's a lot about Venezuela that I'm not going to cover here. But remember that Venezuela, for all practical purposes, those damages or those difficulties that Venezuela is having is preordained. It is there in our hemisphere, and there are a lot of forces that allow or that make what you saw happen in Venezuela. Has a lot to do with plutocracy. It has a lot to do with revenge. It has a whole lot. It's a very complicated story. Suffice it to say that Chavez was an American creation in the first place because the reality is no company swimming in oil should have any of its people in poverty, yet the companies that went and exploited Venezuela worked with quite a few governmental people and the plutocracy there to really make the deals, and the deals that had no good effect on the population. People should know names like Carlos Andres Perez and others out there who can actually tell the truth about what's going on in that country. But anyhow, in the short term, let's go ahead and listen to, like I mentioned in the top, it is, before I go to the response, I want to talk a little bit about the show first of all, given that I wanted to kind of give it some context here. I had actually named the show Fox News doing more to promote democratic socialism than Bernie Sanders. And I subtitled it, Fox News and the plutocracy may learn that their pushback against democratic socialism presents unintended consequences, like maybe educating a populace that comes to love it. Very important. Very, very, very important, right? So I said Fox News is doing more for democratic socialism than Bernie Sanders possibly could. You see, they are causing the Danish, the people living under a system they love, to come out of the woodworks in its defense. Americans are not very well traveled, nor do some have the intellectual curiosity to research on their own. When Fox News makes it a popular and controversial issue and the folks engage at a level, not like they did with Obamacare, but authoritatively, it cannot help but increase awareness. Couple that with the sad state of people's personal economies as the country is doing very well in the aggregate, presents the perfect catalyst. So why will people start looking at this in the long run? And people say, oh, well, they didn't do it before. Why would they now? Look, they are seeing a prosperous numbers out of Wall Street. They're seeing prosperous numbers out of the top 1% and to some extent the top 10%. But everybody else, they are in dire straits. There's a report that came out, and I don't quite remember where it was, that says 80%, or I think it's 80% of folks, or some number similar to that, or one paycheck away from the poorhouse. Think about that. But anyhow, why did I say that this was the best thing Fox News could do for democratic socialism? Because what it did is it made the premier democratic socialist state respond. Okay? They respond officially in tweets. They responded officially in tweeting some documents with numbers and proofs. And then now we have the videos coming out. And as you know, video is everything these days. And a lot of people don't quite realize the potency of digital video. Ask Donald Trump, who won Michigan. Okay? The potent digital memes can have. Potent digital memes. Well, here was the response. One of the responses on video, there are several, and I only am putting this one out, that responded to her, made her look silly. It didn't only make her look silly, it undermined the United States by showing that the greatest country in the world supposedly lags behind countries that the right likes to make fun of. So here it goes.
There's something rotten in Denmark.
Fox News host Trish Regan has made a story in which she compares Denmark to Venezuela.
Denmark, like Venezuela, has stripped people of their opportunities.
Okay, let's just clarify a few things. Trish, you're wrong. You can't compare Denmark to Venezuela. We have a welfare state in our country. This means that our society provides opportunity for people. It doesn't strip people of possibilities in their life.
And no one wants to work. This is a real problem.
This is not true. According to the OECD, Denmark rates 11 places higher than the US unemployment rate. The difference, of course, being that in Denmark, people are paid a decent wage.
School's free. University's free. That's lovely.
Actually, it is.
But you see, not only is school free, they actually pay you. Not bad, eh?
That is not bad. That means that it's not the size of your parents' bank account that decides whether or not you get an education. It's your hard work, it's your talent, it's your motivation.
Well, you know what happens then? Nobody graduates from school, they just stay in school.
Of course people graduate. According to World Economic Forum, on a list of the best educated populations, we rank number 6. Quite a bit better than the US. Sorry.
Nowadays, all the kids graduating from school in Denmark, they want to start cupcake cafes.
I wish that was correct because I love cupcakes. Unfortunately, it's not. It could be though, because according to Forbes' list over countries with best opportunities for businesses, Denmark rates far better than the US. So Trish, pretty much everything you said is untrue, or as your beloved president would put it,
you are fake news.
So you get it. Was that brilliant or what? So they refuted all the points, right? So here you go. You take you take a look at Fox News, their anchors. You put them next against the person, the country that actually they are disparaging, and then they use a third party corroboration to prove Fox News right. So it's not the country coming out and say, oh no, we are better than that. Oh, Fox News, please don't speak badly about us. Please don't. We are good people. Not only are we good people, our people are happy. They went to an independent source, the OECD, that compares all these different advanced countries and ranked them. And Denmark outranked us on just about everything, from healthcare to happiness to education, you name it, they outranked us. Now, why isn't America screaming like hell that other countries are doing better than the premier, the number one country, the most potent country in the world? Because our system was never designed for equity. Our system was never designed to be that all people do well. All we needed in this country is for enough to do well. Enough to do well so that we can keep power. You know, we have the nuclear bomb, we have the biggest navy, whatever. It doesn't take the entire population to run all of that. We just need enough people doing good enough to have the strongest military. We just need to have enough people doing good enough to have the greatest export market, the greatest import market, and all of that. But in the process of doing that, we don't look out for the well-being of all. We look for the well-being of just those who we need to ensure that commerce reigns, that business is taken care of. I want you guys to understand that concept. Our economic system has nothing to do with humanity. Our economic system has nothing to do with let's do what's right for people. It's nothing like that. It's let's do whatever is necessary to keep commerce going. Our military is big so that we can ensure that wherever our businessmen want to do commerce, if they give us hell, we blow them off the planet. It's that simple. They wanted to build a canal in Panama. That's where I'm originally from before I became an American. They wanted to build and I'm talking about the plutocracy, the U.S. government. And why did the plutocracy want a Panama Canal? They didn't want to pay all that money to bring that ship all the way around the Cabo de los Hornos around Chile. They didn't want to do any of that. So they figured, let's make a shortcut. All right, where's the thinnest part in this whole hemisphere? Hey, Panama. Wow, we just have to cut a little bit, create a couple of dams, and hey, we got a canal. We can pass our commerce through there. Okay, but we got to go through Colombia. Oh, God. Colombia is already in a deal with the French. And the French, they're failing in building this darn canal. All right, let's talk to the Colombians about building a canal in Panama, in their province of Panama. Panama is a province of Colombia. Okay, Colombia says, nah, we don't want to do it with you and all that good stuff. Okay, America says. And what do? They put their military ship in front of the Bay of Colón. And after they put it in front of the Bay of Colón, they look for some folks and some disgruntled businessmen in the province of in the province of Panama, which was the entire country, what is now the entire country of Panama. And they declared independence. And immediately after declaring independence, Bonadevilla signed a treaty, not even an American, not even Panamanian, right? Signed a treaty with the United States, granting them the right to build a canal with 5 miles on each side of the canals, meaning a 10-mile SWAT of that they run Little America in Panama. Bet you guys didn't learn that story in when you were in school. So that's why the plutocracy needs just a few people. They need enough people to keep the military strong. They need enough people to grow the plants. And guess what? They did. Eventually, when they realized farmers were noticing that they'll get the short end of the stick, we got the ADMs and all those big agribusiness who now use most farmers as indentured servants. Farmers, why are you still voting for the people who want to oppress you? But anyhow, many of you don't know those histories. You know why? Because the Powell Manifesto ensured that whatever you're taught in school follows a particular doctrine, a particular way things are going to be. All right? That is what you are allowed to learn. You are allowed to learn that which maintains the current economic model. If you really want to learn something about the economic, consider looking for a professor, economic professor. His name is Richard Wolff. In fact, I carry some of his articles, and in fact, the blog of the week today was supposed to be one of his articles. But you know how when I get into these soliloquies and get excited about what's really going on in the country, sometimes I lose time. But you know, the good thing is this is a daily show, and not only that, it's your show. And if you want to call in and change what we're talking about, you can always call in. Telephone number is 646-716-5812. If you want to talk, in fact, I'd love to hear your opinions of a whole lot of what we're talking about. If you just call 646-716-5812, and guess what? You'll be on air, my friend. And you know what? This may be the program that I am leaving on Thursday to Michigan. And I think what I'm going to do is use this program as the program that we are going to have on KPFT 90.1 FM on Thursday, just because this is a very important subject. Socialismo democrata, democratic socialism. But folks, look, the Fox News was so embarrassed that they got caught the way they got caught and had this. They don't do a lot of mea culpas or a lot of coming back to say, oh, I really didn't mean that. I didn't really mean that. I'm so sorry I said that. That's not what she said, of course. She came out more aggressive. It's like, you guys know I didn't really mean that. Well, I don't need to paraphrase it. Here's what she had to say.
I was never implying that conditions in Denmark were similar in any way to the current tragedy on the ground there in Venezuela. I was merely pointing out, using reports from The Atlantic, The Independent, and other publications, that socialism is not the way.
I think by the definition of socialism in the dictionary, of course it's not the way, right? We're not talking. Notice how she cloaked her words. She used The Atlantic, The Independent, and all these supposedly liberal rags, right? And she wants to say the same thing I am saying, meaning Trish Regan. The same thing Trish Regan is saying is what The Atlantic is saying, is what all these other rags are saying. Well, look, there's a left of the Democratic Party, and then there is a Democratic Party, all right? And there is a great thing that, and I didn't write it down, so I'm going to tell you about the story from Richard Wolff today. And it's present that I heard it today on my way back from the gym when he spoke about this. He said, the reason capitalism works, or the reason capitalism is allowed to stay ahead, the reason people have not yet rebelled against capitalism, in as much as it has caused. Again, we're talking about unfettered capitalism. I want to clarify something first of all. I believe in using capitalism as a tool where applicable. That is where I stand. There are some people who simply want to say capitalism, abhor it, nothing else, can't do nothing. I don't even want to touch it. In my case, I would be hypocritical to say that there are places where very controlled capitalism can work as long as it doesn't affect the basic needs of people. And what are the basic needs of people? Healthcare, housing, energy. Healthcare, housing, energy, food. As long as we ensure that that the portions of capitalism used have no impact on those things that are of humane value, then go do it. If you want to form a corporation and do some magical things and then later on sell it into our complete economy, fine. But things like healthcare should be, must be, and basic income must be a thing that our society as a whole provides as a government. We the people. It must be. But anyhow, why has a system so corrupt, a system that has hurt so many? And the reason why, you don't see in books how much people have been hurt or twofold, right? Most people are ashamed to be doing not well. Most people are ashamed to come out and talk about their problems. We can look at the Facebook life of that man who killed his entire family in Colorado, and to the outside, it was all a perfect marriage. They were traveling around. They were having fun. They were living the life of an American that, with the amount of work that these people did, one would think that lifestyle was not, that was congruent with their employment, right? But no, they didn't live that kind of life because we are an extractive community, and I don't know too much about their personal business, right? I don't know too much about it. But, it seems like I have a call, so I'm going to shut up and take a call because the fact of the matter is you guys take precedence. So let's go to the phones. I think you are 609. Come on in.
Hello, Alberto.
How you doing, 609? Talk to me. Who am I speaking to?
Fortunio here.
Who?
Fred Infortunio.
Talk to me.
Dr. Fred Infortunio, running for House District 130.
Okay, let me hear your point of view, my friend.
Hello. Looking at socialism, okay? The socialism they're talking about that doesn't work is where the government owns the means of production. What we should be using as the word to describe social democracy is a democratically social, how's the best way to say it? A socially responsible democracy.
You know, I mean,
Let
let me tell you, Senor Fortunio, I agree with you, right? The thing about it is what has happened is the dictionary purposefully, remember this, and I want you guys to go ahead and do this experiment. Go up and look up socialism and go up and look up communism. And I want you guys to tell me, based on Webster Dictionary, what is the difference? You won't see a difference really. Because what Mr. Fortunio just said is absolutely the way it's defined. Where the government controls all means of production. I don't know of anybody who believes in democratic socialism who believes that, because that's not what it is at all. Continue, my dear friend.
You are right on. And a government working for the common good is really what social responsibility is, where the companies that are responsible to their employees, they're responsible to the customers.
Right.
All right. This is what we should really be looking at. And I hate this word socialism because they're talking about Venezuela. But what we do see out in Denmark and Sweden is social responsibility.
Right, and those are democratic socialist states. Let's be frank on their definition. There are two things we can do. We can either allow others to co-opt words to freak people out, or we can educate people. I think I'm in the second camp. I want to educate people so that, because if somebody just says socialism, everybody goes, oh my God, Russia. Oh my God, Venezuela. But the first thing about it is I want to tell people one thing about Venezuela. America is not immune to becoming Venezuela under the current regime or under any future regime. And the reality is because when people no longer have anything to lose, Venezuela is what you get. And there are a lot of folks in Appalachia. There are a lot of folks in the ghettos and the barrios. When they have been tame because of the type of society that we have. But do not ever think that if the progressive movement is not successful, do not ever think that if the progressive movement fails, meaning what we are standing for, Mr. Fortunio, if that fails, Venezuela is next. And the reason, Richard Wolff, and I want to tell this Richard Wolff story real quick. Do you have something to quickly to say before I just break in and then bring you back in?
Take a look at the riots in California in the 1990s, and that's the failure of the system, where the fabric of society was being torn apart because the government and society was not serving them.
Right. Let me say this. Here's the thing that I want to add. This is what Richard Wolff said this morning. I think he said it last week, but I think it came out this morning on KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston. And he said, this society, we can break them down into three pieces. And he said the three pieces are as follows. The top 10%, right? The top 10% continuously does well. They are always doing well. They are the chosen. A lot of people say they work hard or whatever. Well, a stockbroker doesn't work hard. He was chosen to be a stockbroker who happens to be a profession that does absolutely nothing, but is able to make big profits and be a part of the top 10% because he was chosen to work in that field after he graduated college. You know, there are a lot of folks who graduated college with business degrees, a lot better than those guys that we have currently serving with the titans of finance. But he was a chosen one. These were the chosen ones. So that 10%, the chosen ones. And when I say chosen, this is not to disparage folks in the 10%, because for a long time I was a member of the 10% until I decided to go full-time activism. Okay. Now here's the deal. The thing that you have to be careful of is. Oh, and then after the 10%, Professor Wolff divided them into 45% and 45%. He said 45% is the middle class. These are the people that are, just a little bit more than a paycheck away from the poorhouse, or those that are doing, average or well. Then there's a 45% that are always they don't have good jobs. They don't have good wages. Life is a struggle for them. They are surviving, but life is a struggle. And what he said is that the Democratic Party has always been the party of that lower 45%. The Republican Party has always been the party of the 10%, and the fight has always been for the 45% of the middle class. And what he said is the ingenuity of the Republicans is as follows. As neither party, neither the Democrats or the Republicans, would really pass any real laws that harms the 10%. When they increase the taxes of the 10%, they also increase the taxes of the 45%, but they make sure that the 10% has all the loopholes necessary to get out of those taxes that they've added. And at the same time, then the 45% never gets out of them. So what happens is under when Democrats are ruling, Republicans start to point out that the Democrats are passing laws that for all those 45% that want to do nothing, and the people that are paying for it is the 45% middle class, and they leave the 10% alone. They don't even talk about them. And if any Republican talks about the 10%, they're excommunicated from the party, or they're made a socialist or whatever. So that goes on for a while, for over and over again. When it goes too far, and the Republicans come into power, then the Democrats are there to tell those 45%, we're going to get back all those programs that we used to have that the Republicans are cutting right now. We're going to get it back for you. And how do you get back those programs? Again, after the Republicans gave bigger tax cut to the rich but little tax cut to the middle, you go ahead and say, okay, we'll tax the middle again. We'll tax everybody. But there are loopholes again. Like, this, the rich was able to bring back their money from overseas. The rich was able to get new stock options with when they were the stock buybacks. All these good things that happened with the scam, with the tax cut scam. All of that was successful for the wealthy. For the middle class folks, every penny that they get will be thrown right back into healthcare, will be thrown right back into all these other taxes that nobody told you about. All those freeways that are being built that are toll roads now, you're going to pay those taxes too. They're taxes. All the tariffs that got increased now to bring even more money into the coffers, that's your money paying it. And who's the one that's paying most of that? You are. So the deal is that neither the Republican Party or the Democratic Party are really the party that helps the middle class. The Democrats help the poor when they're in power. These are in the aggregates, folks. I know Obamacare did well for me because as a small business owner, I was able to get insurance at a better rate, given that a wife that had a pre-existing condition. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about in the aggregate. And that's what folks have to understand. We're not talking about individuals getting particular advantages. We're talking about in the aggregate on policies. So what we have, as Dr. Wolf says, is we have that ping pong between parties. But the one thing that's constant within the two parties is that the 10% doesn't really ever get touched in any substantial manner that affect their personal economies like it happens with the middle class. And it is for us to learn that. Now, what we are trying to do as progressives, those folks that are progressives, are trying to say, look, we're still in a duopoly, two-party system. Richard Wolff, where I kind of disagree with Richard Wolff is, Richard Wolff says we cannot solve this problem with either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. My contention with Dr. Wolff, and I'm going to bring him on and really talk about that probably in the next few weeks or so. My contention with Dr. Wolff is if you don't do it within one of the parties, what you have is having to create a structure that these two parties control. And these two parties ensure that you have a duopoly and that anything outside of the duopoly doesn't happen and doesn't matter. Donald Trump is no Republican. Donald Trump wanted to create chaos. Donald Trump had the means to create chaos, and he had the backing to create chaos. Donald Trump didn't try to run as a third party. Donald Trump ran within the Republican Party and won. My contention is if progressives really want to get the job done in a timely manner, you start, and I think it's a 10-year process. You start by going into the party proper. And I think the only party where you have a home right now, because you can make it your home, is in the Democratic Party. And seat by seat, meaning precinct chair by precinct chair. Precinct chair by precinct chair. You get in there and you take it over. Super delegates, we're winning. We're getting rid of super delegates. There are a lot of things that you can do slowly but methodically that works. within the party system. Then, when you are done with that, you can then do better. Let me get to a call. Another call is coming in. It looks like a Skype call. Skype call, you are on. Come on in.
Yes, we appreciate your platform indeed. And this is Mike from Singapore.
How you doing, Mike?
Anyway, pretty good. I mean, it seems all the media, from from Fox to CNN to etc. It seems they are all corrupt. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely so. In fact, we know that Fox News is corrupt. And just talking to you about the Jake Tapper piece on Medicare for All proves that even CNN, a station where I did a whole lot of iReports and did a lot of work. I have over 500 videos that I did for CNN. It's sad to see a reporter that I so respected come out and do a hit job on Medicare for All like he did for a few days ago. It was shocking to see Jake Tapper put out it wasn't even a one-sided report. It was a report completely lacking of context. Continue, my friend.
Yes, it seems, right now, as you know, it's 90% of the people have access to the 10% of the wealth,
yes,
and 10% have access to 90% of wealth.
Yes.
Do you think it's fair and injustice, or is it good that this is happening?
Oh, it is a complete. It's not only an injustice; it is legal theft. And you heard what I hope you understand my accent. What I'm saying. The reason 10% of people own 90% of the wealth or something of that nature. I actually think it's 10% own 80% and 20% own 90%. It's something like that. But whatever the case is, that could occur because of what's known as legal theft. If the plutocracy writes the rules, they can write it to make it legal to steal from the average American worker, to steal from the government, to steal from all these things. So the reason the disparity exists is because of legal theft.
Exactly. So are you in favor of the universal health care for all, or are you against it?
I am 100% in support of single-payer Medicare for all. I'm in favor of eliminating all insurance companies related to basic health care. If people want premier health care where they get flowers delivered to them and all that sort of stuff, hey, you can buy an insurance policy that gives you that kind of a support. Also, if people want, and I'm also for getting the private sector out of energy completely. I don't think the private sector should be digging up oil that belongs to the commons. In other words, these companies didn't put oil there. Why are they the only ones really making profits out of the oil that's in the ground? So I'm for deregulate, getting the oil companies nationalized, getting the utilities nationalized, and also we must have universal health care. There's much more for the free market to do. If these guys really want to do something of substance, there's a whole lot of areas where the free market can reign. Much places that they can. It just doesn't belong in areas that people depend on.
Exactly, and I agree with you. Indeed, I thought first maybe you're not. You're against universal health care and etc. But it seems lots of people have the same view with you. Indeed, my brother, from whether you live outside the United States, why Americans in GM workers, American GM workers work in GM facility in France get automatically 5 weeks of vacation for the first year, but the people who work in GM in the United States get only
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 2 weeks minimum.
Yes.
And even in France, even if they see some kind of signs of stress or sign of something, GM in France, they give you free ticket. It says you find your destination. We send you 1 week over there, have fun, come back fresh.
Well, there are a lot of countries that.
they
Yeah, there are a lot of countries, my friend, who favor humanity over simply absolute accumulation or gouging of capital. We have a culture here in the United States of America taught in business schools that we should gouge capital. And that, that is the type of country that we've turned into. We've lost our morals. Well, I don't know that we've lost our morals.
That's
We've been trying to develop our morals from the beginning of the country. Meaning, we started with slavery, which was evil. We started with women who didn't have any rights. We started with taking away the lands of the natives and killing them indiscriminately. We became a better nation. One of the reasons that I believe that going forward we were always going to get better is knowing our past, knowing how evil a beginning that we had, knowing that going forward we would continue to do good and do better. What we find many times is that some of those in power, even though the population at large, because I speak to people all over the world, all over the country, the population of the country really, they may not agree with all my concepts or whatever, but the basic people in this country are very good people, and they believe in these issues. And it is that because they feel powerless, because they don't realize the power that they have with one person, one vote, that we haven't gone forward. But one of the reasons we have politics done right is to do exactly that: empower folk and let folk know that don't buy the crap. You are empowered, and we still have power. You have to go out and do it. Folks, anything else you have to say quickly, because I have to close down the show, my friend?
Sure. Maybe if you can go a little bit longer since I come with you. I like to talk to you a little bit more, but if you pass hour, it still records the show. People can hear it later.
Yeah, people can hear.
1 hour.
Right. People can hear the show. It's on podcast, iTunes, TuneIn. It's everywhere.
Yes.
But let me tell you better. We do this show every single day at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time in the United States. I don't know what time it is out there, but we do it every day, so you can always listen in and call in. So thank you so kindly for calling the show, sir. You have a wonderful day, okay? Thank you.
I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we're getting close to the end. I want to do my last pitch of the day, and that is to ask all of you to remember that this is a call-in show. 646-716-5812 is the number. I also want to tell you guys that, remember, this is a show it's a progressive show that depends on you. We'd love for you to subscribe to patreon.com/politics done right. Again, that is patreon.com/politics done right. The right wing supports their causes, and that is reason that they have been very, very successful over the years. So please do the same and support Politics Done Right, independent media. That is what we do. It's interesting that somebody is playing. I guess that is my own show saying that there is something rotten in Denmark. Anyhow, folks, look, thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. But again, we ask you to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, and be a part of the progressive movement. Be a part of making change. That is what we do. We're not going to have a show on Friday because I'll be off in Denver. Thursday will be a repeat of one of my shows. I'm not sure if it's this one yet. I'm going to go a little bit over because I need to get to my my folks on Facebook Live, which I am so sorry, guys. I've neglected over a few days. So let me say hello, Fred Infortunio, Deborah Binbon, Michael Rudnin. Let's see, Ferry Mock. Welcome aboard the show. Let's see, Michael Rudnin. I think I got you already. I'm saluting the commenters right now. Adam Ruins. Let's see. Who else I need to raise up here? All right. Let me see if I have anything else that I need to tell you real quickly. Deborah, hello. Michael, speaking of the Fox GOP TV being a national embarrassment, they sure are. And let's see, so much from women. Exactly. Bees are recovering despite neonics still being used in agriculture. Koch brothers research shows differently regarding Medicare. Absolutely so. Haven't heard anything from Jake Tapper on single payer since last year. Did he screw up again? Yes, he did. Single payer is $500 billion cheaper annually. Yes, it is. And I think it could be more depending on what we do with the drug companies, theft of our commons. Democratic Socialism is socially responsible capitalist democracy. You're absolutely right. If our nation implements democratic socialist values, our people will love it. I am absolutely sure about that. They have to just get over the scare of the word, but they would love it. You're absolutely right, Mr. Rudnin. The wealthiest nation in the history of the world, yet the bottom 40% are seriously struggling. Yes, they are seriously struggling, and that is what we are here for. But it's not only the bottom 40% that's struggling, Mr. Rudnin. We have others that are struggling in silence, and the middle class is having it hard. And no, folks are just a scare away from losing everything. They just are scare away from losing everything. There are a lot of people that are solidly in the middle class without insurance, and those people that are solidly in the middle class without insurance, all has to happen is somebody breaks a leg, and suddenly they're no longer solidly in the middle class. Folks, this is Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies. I ask you again to go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and be a part of the solution. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I am going to end it. I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.